Amelia Morgan had always found solace in the quiet charm of her bookstore, Whispers of Time. Nestled in the heart of the city, it was a haven for those who sought refuge in stories. The scent of old books, the soft hum of the ceiling fan, and the distant chatter from the cafe next door were the only constants in her life. This particular morning, the sun painted golden hues on the cobblestone streets. Amelia, with her raven-black hair tied in a loose bun, hummed a tune as she unlocked the door. The bell above the entrance jingled, announcing the start of another day. As she began her routine of dusting off the shelves and arranging the displays, a worn-out tome caught her eye. It wasn't one she recognized. Curious, she picked it up, and a folded piece of paper slipped out, landing softly on the wooden floor. She bent down to retrieve it, her fingers brushing against the aged parchment. Unfolding it, she read, "Sometimes fate writes the most captivating stories." The handwriting was elegant, with a touch of flourish, but what intrigued her most was the signature at the bottom. L.M. Amelia's heart raced. L.M. were the initials of her late mother, Lillian Morgan. Could it be? She hadn't seen this handwriting in over a decade. Memories of her mother's bedtime stories, filled with tales of destiny and love, flooded back. Determined to uncover the mystery behind the note, Amelia decided to trace the book's origins. A small sticker on the back cover indicated it was from an estate sale. She remembered hearing about one recently, held at the Grand Mansion on Elm Street. As the day wore on, Amelia's thoughts were consumed by the note. She shared her discovery with her best friend, Olivia, who dropped by for their usual afternoon tea. Olivia, always the adventurous one, insisted they visit the mansion immediately. The two women arrived at the grandiose house, its towering spires casting long shadows. They were greeted by an elderly caretaker, Mrs. Collins, who remembered the book well. "Ah, that belonged to Lady Eleanor," she said, her voice quivering with emotion. "She was a dear friend of your mother's." Amelia's eyes widened in surprise. How could her mother have known a noblewoman, and why had she never mentioned her? Mrs. Collins led them to Lady Eleanor's private study, where they found a series of letters exchanged between the two women. Each letter hinted at a shared secret, a bond that went beyond mere friendship. As Amelia delved deeper into the letters, the sun began to set, casting the room in a soft orange glow. She felt a connection to her mother like never before, a bridge to a past she had long forgotten. The letters were penned with an elegance that spoke of a bygone era. Each envelope bore the emblem of a dancing couple, which Amelia recognized as the insignia of the city's most renowned vintage ballroom. The correspondence between Lillian and Lady Eleanor spanned years, revealing a deep bond forged in their youth. One letter, dated a decade ago, was particularly poignant. Lady Eleanor wrote of a summer evening when the two women, in their younger days, had danced under the stars at the ballroom's annual solstice event. The letter spoke of promises made and dreams shared, of a pact that was meant to be honored on the eve of every summer solstice. Amelia's hands trembled as she read the words. The solstice was tomorrow. The weight of the discovery pressed on her. She had to know more. Olivia, ever the voice of reason, suggested they speak to Mrs. Collins again. The elderly caretaker, upon hearing their questions, hesitated for a moment, her eyes clouding with memories. "Your mother and Lady Eleanor were inseparable," she began, her voice soft. "They shared a bond that many envied, but one summer, everything changed." Mrs. Collins recounted the tale of a fateful evening when Lillian and Lady Eleanor had attended the ballroom's solstice event. Both women had fallen for the same man, a dashing young dancer named Richard. Their friendship strained and they parted ways, their bond seemingly broken. But the letters told a different story. Despite the heartbreak and distance, the two women had found their way back to each other, their friendship stronger than any romantic entanglement. They had made a pact to meet at the ballroom every solstice, a tradition they kept until Lillian's untimely passing. Amelia was overwhelmed. The tales of love, betrayal, and reconciliation were more captivating than any novel in her store. The realization that her mother had harbored such a secret, such a profound bond, left her with a myriad of emotions. As the evening shadows deepened, Amelia made a decision. She would attend the solstice event at the vintage ballroom. She needed to honor her mother's memory and perhaps find answers to the questions that now consumed her. Olivia, sensing the importance of this journey for Amelia, promised to accompany her. The two women left the mansion, the weight of history and the anticipation of the morrow heavy in their hearts. The next day dawned bright and clear. Amelia felt a mix of excitement and trepidation as she prepared for the evening. She chose a vintage dress from her mother's collection, a deep blue gown that shimmered in the light. As she looked in the mirror, she felt a connection to Lillian, as if her mother was right beside her, guiding her steps. Olivia arrived, dressed in a stunning red number, her enthusiasm palpable. "Tonight's the night, Amelia," she said with a grin. "Who knows what destiny has in store?" The vintage ballroom was a sight to behold. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting a soft glow over the polished wooden floor. The walls were adorned with golden trims and mirrors that reflected the dancers' every move. The air was thick with anticipation, the soft strains of a waltz playing in the background. As Amelia and Olivia entered, they were met with a sea of swirling dresses and sharp tuxedos. The attendees, many of whom were regulars, exchanged greetings and shared laughter, the atmosphere one of camaraderie and celebration. Amelia felt a bit out of place amidst the revelry. She scanned the room, hoping to find a familiar face or perhaps a clue about her mother's past. Just as she was about to give up, a gentle hand tapped her shoulder. She turned to find a tall, silver-haired gentleman with piercing blue eyes. "You must be Amelia," he said with a warm smile. "You have your mother's eyes." Taken aback, Amelia replied, "Do I know you?" The man chuckled. "Not directly, but I knew Lillian very well. I'm Richard." The revelation hit Amelia like a tidal wave. This was the man who had come between her mother and Lady Eleanor, the very heart of their youthful drama. Yet here he was, looking at her with kindness and warmth. Richard led Amelia to a quiet corner where they sat and talked. He spoke fondly of Lillian, recounting tales of their shared adventures and the love they once had. He also spoke of the regret he felt for coming between two such close friends and how he had tried to make amends. As the evening wore on, Amelia danced with Richard, the two moving in harmony to the rhythm of the music. It was a surreal experience, dancing with a man from her mother's past, feeling the weight of history with every step. Lucia found herself in the captivating world of Club de Ville. She was up next for the pole dance. She stood off stage behind the dark curtains dressed in a red gown and red heels. The gown barely covered her buttocks, hence revealed all of her bare hips and sumptuous curves. With her hair one down, she had some sort of mask on that helped conceal her identity. She observed the audience, men that looked so well-to-do, young men in their 20s, 30s, and even older. She was sure that most of them had wives and children at home, but were there wasting away their lives to watch a show of shame, which she was a participant. While she waited to take up the stage, she noticed a message pop up on her phone. It was from Shem, an ardent admirer inviting her on a date. Lucia's gaze shifted to the message, she hissed. She was not cut out for any conscious emotional entanglements with men. With a subtle sigh, she brushed away the thought of a potential romance with Harry. As she stood there, immersed in the vibrant lights and pulsating energy of the club, memories of her close friend Sarah resurfaced. Sarah, 2 years older than Lucia, was already married with 3 children. Their friendship was unshakable, despite their differing perspectives on love and relationships. Sarah, often urging Lucia to search for a partner, but Lucia believed that marriage wasn't compulsory in their part of the world. She encouraged Lucia to seize life's opportunities and find someone who would bring her joy and fulfillment. Lucia respected Sarah's choices and cherished their friendship, even though she couldn't help feeling that marriage wasn't the only path to happiness. In the depths of Lucia's thoughts, as she contemplated her future, she considered the idea of being attracted to a woman. A quiet laughter escaped her lips, not out of amusement, but because she knew her seemingly religious mother, Celine, would never understand or accept such a possibility. She would say, "Have you forgotten every moral that I taught you? Have you forgotten your Sunday school lessons? Have the devil taken over your soul?" Lucia laughed again. She longed for a society that embraced love in all its forms, where people were free to love whomever their heart desired. But hey, she shouldn't even be thinking about that. Romance in any form is not for someone like her. And for now, Lucia embraced her role as a performer, delighting in the liberation she found on the stage. Each dance move represented an act of rebellion against societal norms and expectations. She lived to challenge preconceived notions and carve her own path. As the music swelled and the crowd gathered around the stage, Lucia let go of her concerns and immersed herself in the moment. With each graceful movement, she exuded strength and self-discovery. She danced, not for anyone else's approval, but for her own pleasure and empowerment. Lucia knew that her journey was just beginning. She could obviously see the men drooling around her, but none dared to touch her. It was a rule. If any of them ever dared to touch a stripper, they'll be walked out by a bouncer. As Lucia gracefully moved around the pole, her attention was momentarily caught by a familiar figure among the crowd. She felt a sense of relief wash over her as she realized that her mask concealed her identity, shielding her from being easily recognized. Deep down, she carried the heavy weight of shame for her act, but circumstances had left her with no other option. The money she earned as a stripper was her last resort, her only way to raise enough funds quickly for her mother's crucial surgery. As the music faded and Lucia stepped off the stage, she made her way to the dimly lit dressing room. Alone, she allowed herself a brief moment of self-disgust, resenting the choices that had led her to this point. There was no time for remorse, though. She had to stay focused on her goal of saving her mother. Suddenly, the door swung open, and a man barged him entered the room and, without warning, took off Lucia's mask. "Get out!" Lucia yelled at him. "I knew it! You are the girl that wanted to burn my skin at the cafeteria the other day. Never knew you were this beautiful, bitch. Watch it, man! I'm gonna call security on you if you don't leave this place this minute." "Really? Yeah, did you not read the out-of-bounds clearly written at the entrance door?" Lucia spoke with much irritation mixed with fear. His intentions were evident as he attempted to coax Lucia into a realm of intimacy beyond her boundaries. She resisted him outright, making her stance clear. "I am just a stripper and not some bitch you can get into her pants easily." Her integrity and self-worth remained intact despite her circumstances. But then, the stranger pushed further, dangling a tempting offer of $50,000 for just one night with her. "What?" she asked, transfixed. That amount represented almost half of the money she desperately needed for her mother's surgery. "Yes, $50,000 for a night with me." He spoke softly with his breath hitting Lucia's face. He enjoyed the fact that she calmed on hearing the amount he was offering. He would offer more, if need be. After all, he had the money to get any woman he desired, and the desire for the girl before him burned beyond what he could let pass. Lucia hesitated, her heart pounding with conflicting emotions. The weight of responsibility for her mother's well-being pressed heavily upon her, clouding her judgment. After a few moments of conflicting contemplations, she reluctantly made a decision. "Okay, but you'll have to pay me before I do anything with you, and definitely not in here." The tall, handsome dude with curly hairs smiled triumphantly at her. He did a few clicks on his phone and handed it over to Lucia. "Your account details," he said. Lucia took the phone and input her details. She handed the phone back to him and he made a few clicks once again. Just then, her phone beeped at a message pop up. She'd received the pay. "So, shall we?" "Yes, but I can't go out with you like this. I need to get properly dressed, and please, we'll have a few drinks at the bar before leaving." "You can get changed all you want, but mind you, we'll only get drinks at my hotel." Lucia nodded, rationalizing that drowning herself in alcohol would perhaps numb the shame and disgust she will feel during the act. As they left the dressing room, her mind raced with a mixture of guilt, desperation, and a flicker of hope. Lucia followed, acutely aware of the fleeting moment when the lines between survival and self-respect had blurred. They found themselves in a dimly lit hotel room, the walls serving as a silent witness to her vulnerability. Lucia closed her eyes, trying to detach herself mentally, convincing herself that this was just another sacrifice she had to make. She drowned her senses in alcohol, consuming the liquid courage that would dampen her awareness of the act of shame she was about to endure. He, on the other hand, filled with lustful desire, watched her gulp down shots of alcohol. He could see that she was not a drunk from the very first shot she took. She struggled to gulp it down her throat. He thought that just maybe she was not a bitch before now, but all that was about to change. One problem he had with women, loose perverts. "You should take it easy on that drink. I don't want to have a dead body here with me by morning," he told her. "You have a name?" "Michael." "All right, Michael." She filled her glass again. "Alcohol doesn't kill, and of course it's only your body that can appear dead by morning, if at all." She was gradually loosing herself to the influence of the liquor. Michael could see this, and it pleased him, yet he felt some guilt, like he was about to murder somebody. He wondered why she deliberately drowned herself in alcohol. Anyways, all that mattered to him was the business for which he'd brought her. He was, however, going to watch her blab some more and get lost completely. And the night passed by in a numbing haze. Lucia woke up the next morning feeling a bit disoriented, with an aching head that threatened to fall off her body in the luxuriously decorated suite. As she tried to gather her thoughts, the memory of the previous night with a man she didn't even recall his name remained a blur. The sight of some cash by the bedside caught her attention, along with a note that read, "See you again soon, Michael." Puzzled, she wondered what exactly had transpired while she was under the influence of alcohol. She rolled her around, noting the luxury of the suite. It seemed more like a private suite, but she was sure at a hotel. She caught sight of her environment. There were things that in the room that indicated the owner was sure going return. This was definitely not a one-night suite. Maybe he kept it to bring his numerous women here, and she was just one of them. Getting up from the bed, he eyes then fell upon some pamphlets about HIV and a small container of pills. Panic washed over her as she considered the possibility that she had slept with someone who was HIV positive. She couldn't remember if they had used protection, and the uncertainty frightened her. Without hesitation, Lucia quickly got dressed and made her way to the hospital, resolving to get tested as soon as possible. As she finished reading, the journey of the past few days, the revelations, and the connections she'd forged had been overwhelming. But her mother's words provided solace, a guiding light amidst the chaos. As the first rays of the sun filtered into the chamber, Alexander and Olivia stood beside Amelia, a silent promise of support and understanding. The legacy of Lillian and Eleanor, of love and friendship, would live on through them. The trio left the chamber, the door closing with a soft thud. The ballroom, with its grandeur and history, stood as a testament to the power of love, destiny, and the echoes of the past that shape our present. Lucia wiped away her tears as she sat in the hospital room, clutching the necklace with the locket pendant tightly in her hand. Her mother lay peacefully in the bed, unaware of the turmoil her daughter was going through. Memories flooded Lucia's mind, and she couldn't help but recall their last conversation, the one that had almost caused a tragic accident. It was at that moment that she realized how precious her mother's life was to her, and how far she was willing to go to protect her. As her tears began to subside, Lucia placed the locket pendant back around her neck, the familiar weight bringing her a small measure of comfort. "For you two, I'd give up my life all over again," she whispered, planting a soft kiss on the pendant. Her thoughts were interrupted by the sound of footsteps approaching the room. She turned her head and saw Michael standing in the doorway, a conflicted expression on his face. His eyes met hers, and Lucia couldn't help but feel a mix of anger and confusion welling up inside her. "Whoa, what were you doing here?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. She suddenly remembered why she had rushed to the hospital in the first place. Michael folded his hands on his chest and hesitated for a moment. "Crying doesn't look good on you, you know," he said, with a stern look devoid of any emotion. Lucia, about to talk with rage, suddenly remembered the last time she had done so in this ward and immediately calmed herself and spoke in a much quieter voice. "How did you find me?" "Like, finding you is such a big deal? You wouldn't even ask me to come sit or say hello to your mom?" Lucia wiped off her tears and looked straight at Michael, even though she could barely hide her frustration. "What do you want? Are you following me?" He smiled at the look of frustration on her face and said softly, "I have better things to do with my time than following a stripper and a bitch." The softness in his voice was a height of sarcasm for Lucia. She forced herself to pretend she did not hear him call her names, for that was the blunt truth about her. Just then, the doctor and some nurses walked into the ward. "Hello, Lucia," the doctor greeted her. "Hello, doctor. What's going on?" "Oh, we have to prepare Celine for the theater." "Theater? What?" "I thought you are aware. The surgery has been paid for," the doctor said, and stared back at Michael, who was still standing at the door with his hands crossed to his chest. "Just do your job, doctor. We were just discussing that," Michael quickly said, cocking an eyebrow at Lucia. Lost and tongue-tied, she stood up to allow the nurses to do their job. She stepped out of the ward follow after Michael. The shock washed over Lucia, leaving her speechless for a moment as she followed behind. She had never anticipated that she'll have to exchange her health for her mother's. It all made sense now, HIV in exchange for her mother's life. It was a bitter pill to swallow, but she found herself unable to form any words of gratitude. Taking a deep breath, she finally managed to mutter a quiet, "Thank you." But deep down, resentment lingered within her. "It's fine. You owe me," he said, walking on without bothering to look back. "Wait," Michael turned to her. "About the pamphlet and pills I found in your hotel room. Is it really what I am thinking?" He spoke tenderly to her. "I wouldn't know what you are thinking about, Lucia. You're at the hospital and tests ain't so expensive to run, are they?" "Look, Lucia, I know you have questions, but don't worry. We are friends now, but you ain't getting any answers from me. Visit the laboratory." His dismissive response shattered Lucia's hopes of finding answers from him. Fear crawled into her. She didn't dare. "And hey, don't try to find me," he added quickly before turning to leave. She watched him leave as she wanted to speak but couldn't find her tongue. She headed for the laboratory section to get tested, but just at the door, strength failed her and she turned back. Sarah and Lucia gently helped Celine into the house, her frail form still recovering from the recent surgery. Sarah's daughter, Scarlett, accompanied them carrying a bag. Once they were settled, Sarah volunteered to go make dinner. She asked Scarlett to join her in the kitchen. Celine, seeing that Lucia was about excusing herself too, he beckoned in her to stay. "Lucia, what is going on? You've been avoiding conversations with me lately," Celine spoke softly. She sat on a chair opposite Lucia. Lucia looked thoughtfully at her mom. What her mom said was truer than it sounded. She's been avoiding any moment of intimate bonding with her since the surgery. How can she bring herself to look at her mom in the eyes, knowing the atrocities she's committed lately? Even if she'd lie, she knew that it wouldn't be for long. "That's not true, Mom. I haven't," Lucia said. "Okay, you mind telling me who the young man that paid my medical bills is?" Lucia, her voice filled with sincerity, assured her mother, "I promise, Mom, I will find out and let you know." As they were engaged in conversation, Lucia's phone suddenly rang, piercing through the silence of the room. Apologizing, she excused herself to another corner to take the call. "Hello?" Lucia answered, her voice filled with a mix of apprehension and curiosity. "Lucia, it's Michael," spoke a deep, persuasive voice on the other end. "I know you're hesitant, but I believe it's time we meet." Lucia's brow furrowed, her mind racing with questions. "Michael, I don't think I want to see you. I appreciate all your help, but please, just let me be." A hint of frustration accompanied Michael's response. "No, Lucia, this is not up for debate. My driver will pick you up at 7:30 p.m. Wear your best." And with that, He abruptly ended the call. Lucia was taken aback by Michael's forcefulness and the lack of control she felt in the situation. She turned to find her mother, who had been eavesdropping on the conversation. Celine, her expression a mix of curiosity and concern, spoke gently. "Perhaps, my dear, it is time to give this young man a chance. Sometimes fate has a way of leading us down unexpected paths." Lucia sighed, conflicted by her mother's words. "I wish it were that easy." With her mind clouded with questions and unease, Lucia left her mother's side, determined yet cautious as she prepared for her unexpected date with Michael. She carefully chose an outfit that radiated confidence and strapped on her watch, a gift from her mother. "Meet my fiancé, Dad," Michael told his dad. "Sweetie, my dad, Anderson." Lucia's heart pounded in her chest as she listened to Michael's introduction. Her mind went blank for a moment, trying to process everything she had just heard. The weight of the situation felt suffocating, as if the air around her had grown heavy. "Good evening, Mr. Anderson," Lucia greeted shyly. "Oh, come on, my dear, don't be shy. Come, give your father-in-law a hug," Anderson said warmly with smiles as Lucia walked to him and hugged him. Anderson, Michael's father, a man in his 60s with tall and broad shoulders just like his son. White beard yet looking hot, like a youth in his prime. He wore a pair of jean trousers and a white t-shirt that fitted him perfectly and made him glow. Lucia could not help but feel some sort of warmth and peace when she shared a hug. She wondered what it was about the old man that oozed comfort upon her soul. She felt a connection, but however reminded herself not to get too comfortable. He wasn't and was never going to be his father-in-law. The three of them proceeded to a dining room which would rather be described as a banquet hall. The beauty and splendor was second to no other she'd seen. Michael pulled out a chair for her to sit and also beside her. Lucia's supposed father-in-law sat opposite them. He beckoned on them to close their eyes for a word of prayer. And he prayed, "Thank you, God, for this food. Thank you, God, for my son. Thank you, God, for making him find this damsel." While he prayed, Lucia stared at Michael with askance, but he wasn't looking at her. His eyes were closed tightly, but his lips spread apart to reveal a smiles. "Amen," they echoed and opened the dishes with Anderson volunteering to serve them both. While Lucia tried to object, Michael asked her to let him and the old man did that happily. "My dear, I know you're shy, but I'll like you to feel comfortable and see this place as your home. I don't bite. You can ask your man. I'm the most loving old man you can find as a father-in-law." Lucia smiled sweetly to Anderson. She was trying her best to concentrate on the pasta, but the appetite wasn't even there. The next few minutes passed, and Anderson asked Lucia one question after another about herself and about she and Michael. She answered cautiously and skillfully avoided some questions. Lucia looked at Michael in disbelief. They were outside, staring at the city, her voice trembling as she demanded an explanation. "What was that, Michael? You can't just drop such a bombshell on me and expect me to accept it without any explanation." Michael remained eerily calm, the light from the city skyline reflected in his eyes. "There's nothing more to explain, Lucia. We both share the same fate, and it's in our best interest to join forces. After all, you owe me for your mother's treatment, and you need my money to navigate this life." Lucia's mind raced, her thoughts filled with fear and confusion. She couldn't fathom how Michael could manipulate such a vulnerable situation to his advantage. She felt violated, as if his intentions had been deceitful from the beginning. Not that she even knew them in the first place. Her voice quivered with anger and desperation. "Is this a sick joke to you? You think you can just play with people's lives and emotions? I won't let you blackmail me into a marriage. I won't let you control my life." Michael's demeanor hardened, his voice devoid of empathy. "Lucia, you have no choice. The reality is, you need my money to afford the medications, treatments, and care necessary to stay alive. Without me, you won't have a chance." Tears pooled in Lucia's eyes, her voice filled with defiance. "I refuse to believe that my worth, my existence, is defined by your money or a disease. I won't let you strip away my independence and manipulate me into this nonsense you call a marriage." Lucia turned away from Michael, determined to escape this twisted situation. She walked swiftly towards the exit of the rooftop, her heart heavy with fear and determination. She couldn't let herself be a pawn in Michael's game anymore. Just as she reached for the door, the sound of footsteps echoed behind her. Michael's cold voice reached her ears, laced with a last attempt at control. "Think carefully, Lucia. This is your chance to secure your future. Without me, you may not leave more than a year." With a surge of bravery, Lucia turned to face Michael, her eyes filled with determination. "You may have the power in this moment, but I refuse to let fear guide me." As Lucia stood there, witnessing Michael's sudden and intense display of affection, her initial instinct was to pull away. The suddenness of his actions took her by surprise, causing a swirl of uncertainty inside her. But as Michael's lips met hers, something unexpected happened. Instead of pushing him away, Lucia felt a spark igniting deep within her. There was a magnetic pull, a raw desire that she couldn't deny. Despite her confusion, a part of her longed for this connection, this wild and passionate moment. Her mind raced, questioning her own reactions as their tongues intertwined and their bodies pressed closer together. Every lingering touch left a trail of fire in its wake, a mixture of pleasure and confusion that coursed through her veins. It was as if a dormant passion within her had been awakened by his rough yet tender caresses. With every deep kiss, Lucia could feel a surge of emotions building within her. She could sense the intensity of Michael's affection, the raw desire that emanated from him. It was both overwhelming and exhilarating, as if they were exploring uncharted territory together. But as the intensity of the moment started to wane, Lucia gently pulled away, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Looking into Michael's eyes, she saw a reflection of her own bewilderment. They both shared a desire to understand this inexplicable connection, to uncover the meaning behind the mutual sparks. "Michael," Lucia whispered, her voice filled with a mix of curiosity and vulnerability. "What do you want from me?" Michael's face returned to its usual, his indifference. "Lucia, I don't know the answer to that either. Maybe we should find out." Lucia nodded involuntarily. The days following the revelations about her mother's past were transformative for Amelia. The bookstore, which had always been her sanctuary, now resonated with the echoes of her family's history. Each corner, each book, seemed to whisper tales of love, sacrifice, and redemption. Amidst this whirlwind of emotions, one constant remained: Alexander. Their bond, which had begun as a shared quest to uncover their family's intertwined pasts, had blossomed into something deeper. Their meetings, initially centered around the mysteries of the ballroom, now often found them exploring the town, sharing stories, and dreaming of the future. One evening, as they walked along the riverbank, the golden hues of the setting sun reflecting in the water, Alexander stopped and turned to Amelia. "You know," he began, his voice soft, "our family's histories are filled with tales of love and heartbreak. But I believe we have the chance to write a different story, one of understanding, trust, and unwavering love." Amelia looked into his eyes, seeing her own hopes and dreams reflected back. She nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. "I feel the same. Our past may be filled with twists and turns, but our future is ours to shape." Their moment of connection was interrupted by the sudden appearance of a figure from the shadows. A woman, elegant and poised, with striking features that bore a resemblance to Alexander. "Alex!" she called out, her voice dripping with disdain. "I see you're still playing detective." Alexander's face darkened, his posture stiffening. "Clarissa," he replied tersely, "what brings you here?" Clarissa stepped into the light, her gaze fixed on Amelia. "I've come to warn you," she said, her voice cold. "Stay away from my family's affairs. The past is best left buried." Amelia, taken aback by the hostility, tried to respond, but Alexander intervened. "Clarissa, this is between us. Leave Amelia out of it." Clarissa scoffed, her eyes flashing with anger. "You always were naive, Alex, but mark my words, digging up the past will only bring pain and heartbreak." With that, She turned on her heel and disappeared into the shadows. The encounter left Amelia shaken. Alexander, sensing her unease, took her hand. "I'm sorry you had to witness that," he said, his voice filled with regret. "Clarissa is my cousin. Our families have had differences, especially regarding the ballroom and its secrets." Amelia nodded, trying to process the information. "But why the hostility? Why the warning?" Alexander sighed, running a hand through his hair. "It's complicated. There are aspects of our family's history that some would prefer remain hidden. But I believe in the truth, in understanding our past to build a better future." They continued their walk, the weight of the encounter hanging over them. But as the night deepened, the stars shining brightly above, Amelia felt a renewed sense of purpose. She was determined to uncover the truth, to understand the whispers of the past, and to write a new chapter of love and understanding. The revelations from the hidden chamber had profound implications. Amelia felt the weight of generations on her shoulders, the collective hopes and regrets of her ancestors urging her to set things right. The bookstore, which had always been a place of solace and discovery, now felt like the epicenter of a story that spanned decades. One evening, as the sun cast its golden glow over the town, Amelia sat in the reading nook of her store, lost in thought. The book of records, with its tales of ambition, betrayal, and redemption, lay open before her. She was interrupted by the soft chime of the doorbell. Looking up, she found Alexander, his face etched with concern. "We need to talk," he began, taking a seat opposite her. "The discovery of the book has set things in motion. There are those in my family, led by Clarissa, who believe that the truth should remain buried. They fear the repercussions, the potential tarnishing of the Turner name." Amelia nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "But we can't let fear dictate our actions. The past, with all its complexities, deserves to be acknowledged." Alexander sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I agree. But it's not just about acknowledging the past. It's about forging a new future, one where the Morgans and Turners aren't bound by old grudges and misunderstandings." The two sat in silence, the weight of their responsibility pressing down on them. The Book of Records wasn't just a chronicle of the past. It was a testament to the power of love, understanding, and forgiveness. Determined to set things right, Amelia and Alexander decided to organize a gathering, inviting members of both the Morgan and Turner families. The aim was to share their discoveries, to bridge the divide that had kept the families apart for generations. The day of the gathering dawned bright and clear. The bookstore was transformed into a haven of reconciliation, with photographs, letters, and artifacts from the past displayed prominently. As guests began to arrive, there was a palpable tension in the air, a mix of anticipation and apprehension. Taking center stage, Amelia began to recount the tale of the Morgans and Turners, weaving in the discoveries from the Book of Records. She spoke of the ambitions and dreams that had united the families, the betrayals that had torn them apart, and the hope for a brighter future. As she spoke, the atmosphere in the room began to shift. Resentment and suspicion gave way to understanding and empathy. Old grudges were set aside, replaced by a collective desire to heal and move forward. The climax of the evening came when Amelia and Alexander performed a dance, a tribute to the legacy of Lillian and Eleanor. As they moved gracefully across the floor, their performance encapsulated the highs and lows of their family's shared history, culminating in a promise of a brighter tomorrow. The applause that followed was deafening, a testament to the power of their performance and the message it conveyed. The gathering, which had begun with apprehension, ended with laughter, tears, and the forging of new bonds. As the night drew to a close, Amelia and Alexander stood outside the bookstore, the stars shining brightly above. They had taken the first step towards healing, towards writing a new chapter in the Morgan Turner saga. "We did it," Amelia whispered, her voice filled with emotion. "We've started the journey towards reconciliation." Alexander nodded, taking her hand. "Together, We'll ensure that the whispers of forgiveness guide our way, that love and understanding shape our future. The aftermath of the gathering was a whirlwind of emotions and activity. News of the event spread throughout the town, with many lauding Amelia and Alexander's efforts to bridge the generational divide between the Morgans and Turners. The bookstore, once a quiet haven for readers, became a hub of activity, with townsfolk visiting to learn more about the intertwined histories of the two families. Amidst this newfound fame, Amelia found herself grappling with a myriad of emotions. The weight of her family's legacy, combined with the challenges of her blossoming relationship with Alexander, often left her feeling overwhelmed. She sought solace in the quiet corners of her store, immersing herself in the tales of love and redemption that had shaped her life. One evening, as she was engrossed in a particularly poignant passage, a shadow fell across the page. Looking up, she found herself face to face with Clarissa. The air grew thick with tension as the two women regarded each other, a myriad of emotions playing across their faces. "I didn't expect to see you here," Amelia began, her voice steady despite the rapid beating of her heart. Clarissa sighed, her usual air of disdain replaced by one of resignation. "I've come to apologize," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've been blinded by the weight of our family's legacy, by the need to protect our name at all costs. But seeing the efforts you and Alexander have made, the bridges you've built, has made me realize the error of my ways." Amelia, taken aback by this unexpected turn of events, took a moment to gather her thoughts. "It's never too late to seek forgiveness, to mend broken bridges," she replied, her voice filled with compassion. The two women sat in silence, the weight of their shared history pressing down on them. It was Clarissa who broke the silence, her voice filled with emotion. "I've spent so long holding on to the past, onto the grudges and misunderstandings that have shaped our family's histories. But seeing the love and understanding that you and Alexander share, the hope for a brighter future, has made me realize the futility of holding on to old resentments." Amelia nodded, her eyes filled with tears. "Our families have been bound by a tapestry of love, betrayal, and redemption. But it's up to us, the current generation, to shape our destiny, to ensure that love and understanding guide our way." The two women, once adversaries, now found themselves united by a shared purpose, by the desire to heal old wounds and forge a brighter future. They spent hours talking, sharing stories, and dreaming of the possibilities that lay ahead. As dawn broke, casting a golden hue over the town, Amelia and Clarissa stood outside the bookstore, their hearts lightened by the weight of their shared revelations. They had taken the first step towards healing, towards ensuring that the whispers of forgiveness would guide their families' futures. The days that followed were filled with hope and promise. The Morgans and Turners, once divided by old grudges and misunderstandings, now found themselves united by a shared purpose. They worked together to ensure that their families' legacies would be ones of love, understanding, and redemption. Amelia, with Alexander by her side, continued to run the bookstore, ensuring that the tales of their ancestors would be passed down to future generations. They also embarked on a new venture, establishing a dance academy in honor of Lillian and Eleanor, ensuring that their legacy of grace, talent, and passion would live on. As the years passed, the town bore witness to the power of love and forgiveness, to the ability of two families to set aside their differences and forge a brighter future. The whispers of forgiveness, which had once been mere echoes of the past, now rang out loud and clear, guiding the Morgans and Turners towards a destiny filled with hope, love, and understanding. The days following the reconciliation between the Morgans and Turners were a testament to the transformative power of understanding and forgiveness. The town, which had for years whispered tales of the two families' feud, now buzzed with stories of their unity. The bookstore, once a quiet sanctuary, became a symbol of hope and redemption. Amelia, with Alexander by her side, felt invincible. They had faced the ghosts of the past, mended broken bridges, and charted a course for a brighter future. Their love, which had blossomed amidst tales of betrayal and redemption, felt like a beacon, guiding them forward. However, as is often the case, when one is at the pinnacle of happiness, life has a way of introducing unexpected twists. One fateful afternoon, as Amelia was arranging the latest arrivals in the store, a stranger walked in. The woman, with raven-black hair and piercing blue eyes, exuded an aura of mystery. "I've been looking for you," she began, her voice soft yet firm. "There are things you need to know, truths that have been hidden from you." Amelia, taken aback by the stranger's proclamation, replied cautiously, "Who are you, and what truths are you referring to?" The woman hesitated, then pulled out a diary from her bag. The cover, worn and faded, bore the initials LM, Lillian Morgan. "This," she said, holding the diary out, "belonged to your mother, and it holds the key to understanding the true nature of the bond between our families." Amelia's heart raced as she took the diary. Flipping through its pages, she found entries detailing her mother's time in Paris, her blossoming romance with James, and the challenges they faced. But it was the latter entries, those written after their return to their hometown, that caught her attention. The diary spoke of a secret, one that Lillian had discovered about the Turners, which had the potential to shatter the fragile peace between the families. It hinted at betrayals, at promises broken, and at a love that had been tested to its limits. As Amelia read, the weight of her mother's words pressed down on her. The past, with its intricate web of love, betrayal, and redemption, had once again intertwined with her present, threatening to unravel the future she had envisioned. The stranger, sensing Amelia's turmoil, spoke up. "I am Isabel, Clarissa's sister. Our family's histories are more intertwined than you can imagine, and while I believe in the power of love and forgiveness, there are those who would prefer the past remain buried." Amelia looked up, her eyes filled with a mix of anger and determination. "The truth, no matter how painful, deserves to be acknowledged. We've come too far to let old grudges and misunderstandings dictate our future." Isabel nodded, a sad smile playing on her lips. "I hope you're right. But be prepared, for the road ahead is fraught with challenges. The diary, with its tales of love and betrayal, will test your faith, your trust, and your love." With that, she turned and left, leaving Amelia with the diary and a myriad of questions. The sun set, casting a golden hue over the town, as Amelia, with the weight of her mother's legacy on her shoulders, prepared to face the challenges that lay ahead. The diary became Amelia's constant companion. Each night, after the bookstore closed its doors, she would immerse herself in its pages, journeying through her mother's memories. The entries were a blend of joy, sorrow, passion, and pain, painting a vivid picture of Lillian's life. One entry, dated a few months after Lillian's return from Paris, caught Amelia's attention. It read, "The weight of our family's legacy feels suffocating. James and I had dreamt of a simple life, filled with love and laughter, but the shadows of the past, of promises made and broken, threaten to tear us apart. The Turners, with their secrets and betrayals, have introduced a rift, one that I fear might be insurmountable." As Amelia delved deeper, she discovered references to a pact, a promise of unity between the Morgans and Turners. But intertwined with this promise were tales of deceit, of a Turner who had betrayed the Morgans, leading to years of animosity. The diary also hinted at a secret, one that Lillian had discovered, which had the potential to change the course of their family's histories. But frustratingly, the details were vague, with Lillian's entries becoming increasingly cryptic. Amelia's quest for answers led her to the attic of her childhood home. Amidst the boxes of memories, she found a trunk, its contents covered in a thick layer of dust. Inside were letters, photographs, and artifacts, each telling a piece of the Morgan Turner saga. One letter, its edges yellowed with age, stood out. Addressed to Lillian from Eleanor Turner, it read, "Dearest Lillian, I hope this letter finds you well. I've discovered something, a truth that has the power to heal old wounds. but I fear its revelation might also introduce new challenges. Meet me at the old oak tree, where our family's destinies first intertwined, and I'll share everything." The letter was dated a week before the tragic accident that had claimed Eleanor's life. Amelia's heart raced. The old oak tree, a landmark in their town, had been the backdrop for countless Morgan Turner gatherings. Determined to uncover the truth, she decided to visit the site. As she approached the tree, its branches casting intricate shadows in the moonlight, she noticed a carving, 2 initials intertwined, L and E. Below it was a small cavity, inside which Amelia found a locket. Opening it, she was greeted by a photograph of Lillian and Eleanor, their faces radiant with youthful exuberance. Behind the photograph was a note. "To the future generations, may you find the strength to embrace destiny, to heal old wounds, and to chart a course for a brighter future. Love, always and forever, transcends time." Tears filled Amelia's eyes as the weight of the discovery sank in. The past, with its intricate web of love, betrayal, and redemption, had offered her a roadmap, guiding her towards a future where love and understanding would reign supreme. As dawn broke, Amelia, with the locket clasped tightly in her hand, made her way back to the bookstore. She was determined to share her discovery, to ensure that the Morgans and Turners, bound by a shared destiny, would move forward, united by love and understanding. The revelation of the locket and its poignant message became the talk of the town. Amelia's bookstore, already a hub of activity, was now flooded with visitors eager to catch a glimpse of the artifact that symbolized the deep bond between the Morgans and Turners. One evening, as Amelia was sharing the story of her discovery with a group of enthralled listeners, the door chimed, heralding the arrival of Alexander. His face was pale, his eyes reflecting a storm of emotions. Without a word, he beckoned Amelia to a quiet corner. "I've received a letter," he began, his voice trembling. "It's from my father." Amelia's heart skipped a beat. Alexander's father, Lord Turner, had been estranged from the family for years, having chosen to live in isolation after a series of disagreements with his kin. Alexander handed her the letter. The handwriting, elegant and precise, spoke of a man of refinement. The contents, however, were anything but refined. "My dear son, I've been keeping abreast of the recent developments in our town. The so-called reconciliation between our families, the discovery of that locket, and the tales of love and unity. It's all a farce. The Morgans have always been opportunists, and this is just another one of their ploys. I urge you to sever ties with Amelia and her kin before it's too late." Amelia looked up, her eyes filled with tears. "Alexander, He silenced her with a gentle touch. "I don't believe a word of it," he whispered. "But we need to confront this. We need to face my father and lay the ghosts of the past to rest." Determined to seek answers, Amelia and Alexander embarked on a journey to Lord Turner's estate, a sprawling mansion located on the outskirts of town. The journey was fraught with tension, the weight of generations of misunderstandings pressing down on them. As they approached the mansion, they were greeted by the sight of Lord Turner, his imposing figure silhouetted against the setting sun. The air was thick with anticipation as father and son locked eyes, years of estrangement and resentment evident in their gaze. "Why have you come?" Lord Turner's voice boomed, echoing through the vast expanse of his estate. "To seek the truth," Alexander replied, his voice firm, "to understand the source of your animosity and to pave the way for a brighter future." Lord Turner scoffed. "The truth? The Morgans have always been adept at twisting the truth to suit their narrative." Amelia stepped forward, the locket clasped tightly in her hand. "This," she said, holding it out, "is a testament to the bond between our families, a bond forged in love, understanding, and mutual respect. We're here to honor that bond, to ensure that the whispers of destiny guide our way." Lord Turner regarded the locket, his face a mask of conflicting emotions. "That locket," he began, his voice filled with emotion, "was a gift from Lillian to my sister Eleanor. It symbolized their bond, their shared dreams and aspirations. But it also became a symbol of betrayal, of promises broken. As the night deepened, Lord Turner shared tales of the past, of love tested by adversity, of dreams shattered by betrayal. But amidst the tales of sorrow and regret, there was also hope, a glimmer of a brighter future. Amelia and Alexander listened, their hearts heavy with the weight of their family's legacies. But as dawn broke, casting a golden hue over the estate, they felt a renewed sense of purpose. "We can't change the past," Amelia whispered, her voice filled with determination. "But we can shape the future, ensure that love, understanding, and forgiveness guide our way." Lord Turner nodded, a tear escaping his eye. "Go forth," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "Embrace destiny, and ensure that the Morgans and Turners, bound by a shared past, move forward, united by love and understanding." The journey back from Lord Turner's estate was one of introspection for Amelia and Alexander. The vast landscape, bathed in the soft hues of dawn, seemed to mirror their emotional journey, from the dark valleys of misunderstandings to the hopeful peaks of reconciliation. Upon their return, the town was abuzz with anticipation. Word had spread about their visit to the reclusive Lord Turner, and everyone was eager to hear the outcome. Amelia's bookstore, which had become the epicenter of the Morgan Turner saga, was packed to the brim. Taking center stage, Amelia began recounting their encounter with Lord Turner. She spoke of the tales of love and betrayal, of dreams shattered and hopes rekindled. As she delved into the intricacies of their family's intertwined histories, the audience hung on to her every word, their emotions ebbing and flowing with the narrative. But it was the conclusion of her tale, the promise of a brighter future, that elicited the most profound reaction. A collective sigh of relief swept through the room, followed by applause that seemed to shake the very foundations of the bookstore. Amelia, overwhelmed by the outpouring of support, took a moment to compose herself. "Our families," she began, her voice filled with emotion, "have been bound by a tapestry of love, betrayal, and redemption. But it's up to us, the current generation, to shape our destiny, to ensure that love and understanding guide our way." The days that followed were a testament to the transformative power of love and understanding. The Morgans and Turners, once divided by old grudges and misunderstandings, now found themselves united by a shared purpose. They worked together on community projects, ensuring that their legacy would be one of unity and collaboration. Amelia and Alexander, their love stronger than ever, became the torchbearers of this newfound unity. They organized events, workshops, and gatherings, all aimed at fostering understanding and collaboration among the townsfolk. One such event, a grand ball held at the Vintage Ballroom, stood out. The theme was Embrace of Destiny, and it aimed to celebrate the shared history of the Morgans and Turners. The ballroom, with its ornate chandeliers and intricate frescoes, was a sight to behold. But it was the attendees, dressed in their finest, their faces radiant with joy, that stole the show. As the clock struck midnight, Amelia and Alexander took to the floor, their dance a tribute to the legacy of Lillian and Eleanor. As they moved gracefully across the floor, the audience was spellbound, their performance a poignant reminder of the power of love and understanding. The ball, which lasted till the wee hours of the morning, was a resounding success. It became an annual tradition, a symbol of the town's commitment to unity and collaboration. Amelia and Alexander, their love stronger than ever, became the torchbearers of this newfound unity. They organized events, workshops, and gatherings, all aimed at fostering understanding and collaboration among the townsfolk. One such event, a grand ball held at the Vintage Ballroom, stood out. The theme was Embrace of Destiny, and it aimed to celebrate the shared history of the Morgans and Turners. The ballroom, with its ornate chandeliers and intricate frescoes, was a sight to behold. But it was the attendees, dressed in their finest, their faces radiant with joy, that stole the show. As the clock struck midnight, Amelia and Alexander took to the floor, their dance a tribute to the legacy of Lillian and Eleanor. As they moved gracefully across the floor, the audience was spellbound, their performance a poignant reminder of the power of love and understanding. The ball, which lasted till the wee hours of the morning, was a resounding success. It became an annual tradition, a symbol of the town's commitment to unity and collaboration.